Hello and welcome to the Work for Change podcast. My name is John.
And I am not John, a.k.a. John.
Yep. This is episode 2, and just from everything you guys said, I know. We made
so
it.
excited.
We made it to episode 2.
We are official podcasters now because we have 2 episodes out.
We are almost official podcasters now because iTunes is not yet approved us.
Yeah, oh my gosh. Hopefully they're listening to this on iTunes. I didn't realize. So, okay, we're used to being YouTubers. We're used to being YouTubers. So
We are YouTubers, yes.
You put something out. When you're done editing that, you can just put it on YouTube and it's there, and you don't have to worry about it. Like with iTunes, I guess you have to get approved to have a podcast on iTunes. So we've
It's
been
just
waiting
one
for that.
step.
It's just one of the
We're
steps.
just-
So
We're just waiting to get approved. It's annoying because
Yeah.
once we get approved, we can do whatever we want. We
Yep.
can post as many times as we want.
yeah,
The goal is 1 time a week for now.
yeah.
We'll see what happens after that. But, I mean, we're on our second podcast now, and none of them are on iTunes yet. And I think
none of AKA the only one.
and it's like airplane mode. Let's get Oh, no, I need airplane. Okay. Wow.
Get it together, man.
I know, dude.
Come on.
What?
Now they're never gonna let us on iTunes.
I know.
These jokers.
It's almost like once we get approved on iTunes, then we can get approved on Spotify and Google Play and all that. Like,
Yeah.
it's all happening at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
it's.
for some
I don't
reason.
want to talk too much about the behind the scenes. Not that people care, but we're trying. That's the point. Is like we're trying to get it on iTunes and all of those other media platforms. It just you can't do it right away.
Yeah.
Basically, is the way that. And we just jumped in like once we recorded the first one, we just wanted to put it out, so we put it on YouTube as soon as we could.
Yeah.
And we.
You
didn't
know what?
wait.
We're building anticipation.
Yeah, exactly.
And once it is on iTunes, it'll be a celebration. If we didn't have this anticipation and we went on iTunes, everyone would be like,
oh yeah,
that's what podcasts do.
Yeah,
they go
exactly.
on iTunes. But
Yeah.
now we've got this anticipation
people are just chomping at the bit to listen to us talk.
in their cars instead
Yeah,
of just
yeah.
yeah.
It's hard. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Like podcasts, it's a completely different form of media, so you don't want to keep the. I mean, I personally kind of like watching podcasts, but a lot of times I'm just in my room editing or something, and I can just have the video open.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like if you're driving, if you have a long commute, you can't have your YouTube app open the whole time. So
Speaking of anticipation, I cannot wait to see what your facial hair looks like at the end of November.
yeah, me neither. I can't wait to get this off of me. So I'm doing No Shave November. If you want to see what it looks like, you can go to my Instagram, basically. But it's bad. It's really bad. I did it 2 years ago. And if you saw my last video, you heard me making fun of myself. And I decided this year to do it again. And so for me, the reason I decided to do it again was because if I don't like tell myself I cannot shave, I will shave every day because I get a little bit of stubble and it just kind of looks like my face is dirty if I don't. So it gives me a reason to try and see. Like I'm kind of just interested to see what I can grow because
Yeah.
I always shave every day. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that you shave every day. I don't have that discipline. That's the main reason. The main reason I have facial hair is because I don't want to shave every single day.
Yeah,
that's
well, I
not
mean,
a process I want to do.
I have such a little baby face that it's not like it takes very long. It
Yeah.
takes me like a minute to shave. So I don't have to worry
How
too much
often
about
do you go through razor blades?
not as much as I should. Like I'll be like, man, I feel like I'm scraping my skin off. It might be time for a new razor blade, and it's like rust. Like I'm just scraping. Yeah, it's not good.
I'm part of the Dollar Shave Club, so I get sent razors.
Do you use them all?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that might be
This
a good
podcast
idea.
is sponsored by the. No, I'm just kidding.
One day.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, also, so if you're watching this, you can see. But if you're just listening, hopefully you can tell that the audio is a lot better. This week we have gone on an insane journey to try and make our audio a lot better. So we ended up getting a whole setup. As you can tell, we have these new fancy microphones that have the headphones and stuff, and we have a new little recorder thing. So hopefully you can tell the difference. If you're
And
just
we are in
listening.
a different room.
Yeah, we're in.
I feel like I like this room. I mean, you can't tell if you're just listening, but from the way our last podcast went, everyone watched it.
Yeah.
And there was no listening. So
Yeah.
welcome back to YouTube.
Yeah.
We are in a different room that I actually like a lot.
Mhm.
So
this is like a. It used to be it used to be called. This is in our gym. So the gym's like right there. It
There's
used to be
barbells
called,
being clanged
yeah,
right there.
Yeah. It used to be called, what was it, the athlete room? And there used to be like lockers right.
Cubbies.
Yeah, there was cubbies. There was like a bench in here, and now it's basically just.
And then it was called Romwad room. because we have like a ROM WOD mat, we have a
Mm-hmm.
TV. But then too many people logged into the ROM WOD account and it got suspended. So
Yeah. So now it's basically just storage,
storage.
really. And then we recently the gym recently put new lights up, so there's a bunch of like boxes behind us. But yeah, it's a cool little room. Again, super thankful that our gym lets us do this here.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Super cool.
So today's episode, I'm really excited about. It is our second episode and it is our first interview. This is a really exciting interview that we're going to get into right after this. I don't want to give too much away. Let's save it all for the interview. But his name is Ben. He started an online coaching program called WODprep, basically helping people who are new to CrossFit or developing skills take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this will really resonate with a lot of people listening because I'm not a regionals athlete. Regionals doesn't exist, RIP.
Yeah.
I wasn't even a regional levels athlete. I wasn't even a consideration to be a regionals level athlete.
And I was.
No, you were not.
Oh, okay. I was not.
So this is going to be good because this is going to be something that a lot of people can relate to. And we will have games athletes on this podcast.
That is a goal for sure.
Yep. But I think the bigger priority for us is how can you get better at CrossFit by listening to these people who want to see you succeed, you know? So
yeah, it'll be good. It's cool that we're going to have Ben on. And I think it's exciting for me because obviously I know that a lot of people that follow me for weight loss stuff, but I think it's cool having Ben be our first guest just because I want the intention to be like, you're listening to this podcast. It's not all weight loss related. It's about everything, encapsulates everything. That's why I wanted to call it Work for Change. You can work to change anything in your life. Like if you want to change something, you have to work to change that. That's the point of the podcast. It was actually funny. I was at Costco today. And I was, I checked out and everything. And you know how when you walk out, you have to get your little receipt signed?
Yeah.
Right? So the lady, she signed the receipt, and then she looked at my shirt. I was wearing the Work for Change shirt for the challenge that I'm doing. And she said, "That's a bold statement." And I said, "What?" Because I forgot what I was wearing. And I was like, she was like, "Yeah, if you want to see something change, you have to work for it." I was like, "Yeah, exactly."
Yeah.
And it was just cool. It was like, "Oh, cool." Like,
yeah.
I didn't even think anything of the shirt. I was just wearing it. But yeah, so like that's... I'm really excited that Ben's going to be the first person on here. Obviously, we're going to have a lot of people that have lost a lot of weight. Like, that's going to be a big part of it because that's still something that's so interesting to me. But that's not all this podcast is going to be about. And it's cool, on top of that, having Ben, because I remember when we first started doing CrossFit, we used to just watch his videos like crazy. There'd be a movement we had never done before, like a snatch or like a clean and jerk or whatever it might be. And
well, let's be honest, we all want to know how to do butterfly pull-ups.
Yeah, exactly. Fake pull-ups.
Yeah.
So we would just go to his videos. Basically you just type into YouTube how to whatever it might be, and his videos always popped up, so we always watched him. And so it's cool that we've become friends, and now we're gonna have him on the podcast. So I'm excited to have him on, and I'm excited for you guys to maybe learn a little bit from him, and I'm excited to learn a little bit about him.
Yep.
Cool.
All right, guys, hold on to your butts. Let's get into the interview with Ben from WODprep. Ben, welcome to the Work for Change podcast. Our very first guest.
Pressure's on, guys. Pressure is on.
Yeah, I know. We are intimidating, and I get that all the time.
Yeah.
So, first things first, you're calling us from Thailand.
Yes.
And for us, it is Tuesday night. It is Monday night.
Monday night.
And it is Tuesday morning for you?
Correct. I'm in the future, actually. If you ask me what the sports scores are, if you're a big bettor, I can tell you the future. So.
Oh, wow. Well, we are known sportsers on this podcast. We
love the sportsing.
Yeah, we love sportsing. We are both avid sportsers. So we will definitely ask you those questions.
Ask you about all the
all the sports,
the horse races, and
I'll give you the sportsing report. No problem.
All right. So I feel like what would be good is if you could kind of just introduce yourself. If you could explain maybe why you are in Thailand, because I am interested. I would like to know that, and kind of how you got to where you are right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh man, where do I start? I'll start. Why am I in Thailand? That is because my wife, I'm married to a beautiful woman. She is deployed on an aircraft carrier in the middle of the ocean, and I live in Japan with her on a military base. She is actually a helicopter pilot for the US Navy. So, because she's deployed and because my doggies are back home in the US, I basically get to travel around and kind of run seminars and kind of go wherever I want. And I was actually in Thailand for a business conference to learn how to expand my online coaching business. So that's what brings me here in a very small nutshell. And then we can obviously expand from that if you have any questions, like why are you married to a helicopter pilot?
No, so I mean that's when you first got the news that you guys were deploying to Japan. How was that? Like you were pretty from what I know, you owned a gym, a CrossFit box, right?
Yep.
Like what happened? What was going on there? Like
Man, moving to Japan was pretty epic. But basically, like, so I used to own a CrossFit gym in like right when I got out of college. In college, I went to North Carolina State University, which is in Raleigh, and I actually worked for Christmas Abbott's gym. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Christmas. She's the girl
oh
with
yeah.
the gun tattooed on her hip. So Christmas was my partner at regionals. We competed on a team together for 2 years. She was my boss. She was like a business mentor. She, showed me how to run a legit CrossFit gym. And then when I graduated college, we started up a CrossFit gym. Me and one of my buddies. It originally started with like this idea to open a box in like his basement or something like that. And then we started talking to a couple people, and it turned into opening a real legit CrossFit gym with a lease and everything. So we started in 3,000 square feet. Things were going great. I was running it. Basically, I was the owner along with my buddy Josh for like almost 2 years. And then I had this girl that just wouldn't leave me alone.
Oh, I know the worst.
She just kept hanging around. Now, if she watches this or listens to this, she would kill me. I wouldn't leave her alone. I met my wife at a wedding, actually. We started dating long distance. I thought it wasn't going to last very long. It did last very long. And eventually it turned into me getting engaged to her while I was owning that CrossFit gym in Maryland. And once I got engaged to her, I knew going into that, it's like, I'm going to have to, I have to make a decision. And the decision is quite obvious. If I want to live with my, wife, when we get married, I have to move away from my gym because the Navy doesn't say, oh, your husband owns a CrossFit gym in Maryland. Okay, we'll put you in Maryland. No, they're like, you go where we tell you to go. So what happened was I moved from Maryland to Pensacola, Florida, and then was trying to run the CrossFit gym with Josh from afar. It was tough, and I wasn't giving enough, I wasn't able to give enough value because I wasn't like in the trenches coaching the classes and stuff like that. So what happened is I ended up selling my half of Blue Crab CrossFit. That's what it was called. If you're from Maryland, you understand what Blue Crabs are. Otherwise, everyone's like, that's the worst CrossFit gym name.
No, it's super cool.
Yeah. I was actually going to Redfish CrossFit before this, and
There you go, Redfish CrossFit. That's a great name. I love, as a fisherman, I'm a big fan of that. I was originally going to call it Megalodon CrossFit.
Oh.
A shark in the ocean. I think that's the coolest name. So if anyone out there wants to take that, have at it.
But you gotta pay us first because you heard it. Pay Ben first.
So we got engaged. I moved from Maryland to Maryland to Florida, sold my gym, and then we moved like 4 months later to San Diego. So I was actually in y'all's neck of the woods for like 6-7 months. I lived in Mission Valley, and that's actually where WODprep got started, was in Mission Valley, overlooking a vastness that was the Costco parking lot. And after launching WODprep, we found out they were moving to Japan. So I was like, well, I have to be all in on this because, I don't know how I'm going to find a job that allows me to move around like we keep moving. So WODprep took off, and I've been doing it full time for like 3.5, 4 years now.
Was WODprep always fully online, or were you thinking of okay, you were thinking like personal training or?
No, so I basically was like, as soon as I figured out like, okay, U.S. Navy, we're going to be moving around a lot. I don't want any physical part of this. I want it to be all online. The world is such a huge place. Like the fact that we're talking to each other live, and I'm in Thailand and you guys are in California. It's like, what? So it just allows you to do so many cool things with coaching. So I decided to keep it totally online. I've had people say like, hey, you're going to ever open a CrossFit gym again? Are you ever going to have a physical location? It'd be for fun, mainly as like a host for like seminars and stuff like that. It'd be like, we could have like summits and just like host events and just have fun with it. It wouldn't be like working 18 hours a day trying to, scrape by eating beans and rice sort of thing.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Before you did CrossFit, were you a sportser?
I I was so sportsy. Yes, I did. When I was in college, obviously you gotta look good for the ladies, or at least attempt to. So I did bodybuilding for like, I did bodybuilding for a while. So it'd be like, it really was like 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. Like I'd get like cut, I'd like look good enough, and then I was just like, I really don't like this. I don't like bodybuilding. So I'd get really bored, and then I would just, play intramural basketball, football, volleyball, stuff like that. I would just play a lot of sports. I was sportsing, if you will.
Sportsing hard. Yeah.
Super hard sportsing.
Yeah.
And then summer break between my freshman and sophomore year of college, summer break, one of my high school teachers was like, hey, Ben, you should try this crazy thing. It's called CrossFit, and they do kipper ring pull-ups. That's what he called them kipper ring. Yeah.
Kippering.
I love kippering pulls. Those are my favorite pulls to do.
So I was like, what is this? He's like, yeah, you just go to CrossFit.com and just follow the workout. And I was like, all right, yeah, cool. So I went to CrossFit.com. First workout I saw was Barbara, if you guys know Barbara. And I tried it in my kitchen, and
I totally know what it is, but like for everyone who doesn't know, like just for the people who don't know.
So Barbara, oh man, now I have to know it off the top of my head. So Barbara is, I believe, 5 rounds of, is it 20 pull-ups, 30 push-ups, 40 squats? Does that sound right, guys?
I think so. I'm going to check the interwebs real quick for that.
I feel like Google would know this.
Yeah, feel free to keep talking.
Yeah, so I did Barbara, whatever Barbara is. I did that workout in my kitchen in a doorway pull-up bar.
Oh my gosh.
And that was before I knew that you shouldn't consume a massive fruit smoothie 10 minutes prior to doing high exertion exercise.
Okay, we got it here. So Barbara is 5 rounds, 20 pull-ups, 30 push-ups, 40 sit-ups, 50 squats, and then you rest 3 minutes.
That's it. So there was a rest built in. How hard could it be? It's going to be the easiest workout ever. I did it, threw up everywhere. And by everywhere, at least I did make it into the sink. And I was just like, what the heck? Am I not in shape? Me? Not in shape? This is ridiculous.
The sports.
And I looked online. That was like back when everybody was posted on CrossFit.com. This was like 8-9 years ago, mind you. So I look in the comments and it says like male 21, 170. And then the time is like, the time totally crushed my time. And I was like, no way. This is impossible. And like the next couple of days I did it again. I actually threw up my first 3 CrossFit workouts.
Oh my gosh.
Because it took me 3 workouts to identify the fact that it was not the workout causing me to throw up. It was the massive fruit smoothie 10 minutes prior to doing the workout that was causing me to throw up.
Oh my gosh.
So that's a pro tip. That's my number one tip for beginner CrossFitters is don't have a giant fruit smoothie 10 minutes before you work out. Yeah, that was my first workout, man. And that's kind of what started the CrossFit, like, I guess, snowball. It was all downhill from there. Like, literally, I saw these people posting these crazy scores. I'm naturally a very competitive person. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like, how are these guys crushing me so much? How are these ladies crushing me so much? And then it was just, I just fell in love with it. And here we are today.
That's super cool.
It's funny.
So you're pretty early, like you've been doing CrossFit for a while, right? Like, like there wasn't a lot of competitor programs, right? Like out there. Wow, this is just
I wrote
.com
my own programming, and it was generally, what do I like to do? And I'm going to do that. So I was deadlifting and doing bar muscle ups like 3 times a week at least. So it wasn't really diversified. That was back when actually like the Outlaw Way was huge. So that was like the first competitors program I followed. And that's kind of fallen off the map a little bit. But yeah, it's crazy. It was like the Wild Wild West. I mean, there wasn't that much info out there. There weren't CrossFit. Like there was one CrossFit gym in Raleigh, one.
Mm-hmm.
And now there's like, I don't know, 50, something like that. So it was pretty crazy back there. And I've been coaching actually for like 7 years, which is a lot longer than, a lot of people have been even heard about CrossFit. So it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, the first experience I ever had with CrossFit. I didn't even join. It wasn't YouTube. I was working at a company and they closed down, so I needed to get an immediate job right away. So I worked reselling baby clothes. That was like my job. It was glamorous. All I dealt with was new moms and pregnant ladies
It explains a lot, right?
all day. That's what I did.
So they were all very level-headed and non-emotional. I can imagine.
Exactly. And so we were in a business complex, and right next to us, there were these people, literally like the most CrossFit thing you can think of, like garage door open. They were flipping tires, doing like pull-ups and running laps. And this wasn't even super early into CrossFit. This was I left that job in like 2010, 2011. So like not even CrossFit was around for a little bit, And I remember asking the guy like, "What is this thing you guys are doing?" He's like, "CrossFit." I'm like, "Wow, like I'm interested in this gym. How much does it cost?" He's like, "It's $100 a month or something like that." And I remember being like, "Oh, it's not that cool."
I'm not that interested in this gym.
Remember when I said I was interested? Well, I was just kidding about that.
Good joke, right?
I was like,
gotcha.
Please don't follow up with me because I will never show up.
Every time you're walking by the gym, just put your head down like, hey, guys.
But that was the first time I ever heard of CrossFit. And then eventually I saw, like I talked about last week, I saw a documentary about Lauren Fisher on YouTube. And then since I watched it, YouTube now recommended only CrossFitters.
Yeah.
And then that's how I got into CrossFit. It was by YouTube. So, and then
By Lauren Fisher, actually.
Yeah, literally, Lauren Fisher got me into CrossFit. I've met her like 3 times since, and I don't have the guts to tell her like that. You're the reason.
Inspiration.
You're the reason I got into CrossFit. Like,
I think she'd love to hear that.
we live in the same city. Like, I could go and
I saw Garrett at Target.
Yeah, exactly. Like I could go and tell her, but I just am like, how weird would that be? Probably not weird, but
I think the first like time I ever really heard about CrossFit and like saw videos was obviously, so I was already making videos on my YouTube channel and I only did bodybuilding workouts. So I would see people would like tag me or like they somehow like CrossFit, honestly it was like CrossFit fail videos would come up on my search thing.
I love
so I'd click on those and then it'd be people like making fun of it, right? So my first like thought when I thought of CrossFit was first off all of those like fail videos almost always are like at the games where people are pushing themselves super hard. So now that I know it's not really fair to like, like they're going through so much, but like that's not what CrossFit really is, but that's what I thought CrossFit was. And being like a bodybuilder meathead, I was like, oh no, like they don't care about form, and like you always hear like, oh, you're gonna lose all your gains and stuff like that. So like that, I'm not a negative person, so it's not like I ever badmouthed CrossFit. I just was like, that's not for me. But then Jean actually got into it and he like fell in love with it, and we kind of talked about this last week on the podcast, but he fell in love with it, and then he was the one that like got me into doing it, and he had me watch like the Rich Froning documentary and then the Fittest on Earth. And so before I went into my first CrossFit class, I already bought a pair of Metcons and I was like ready to go. And then I was like full
that's
into
the first
it.
Step. The first step is getting the right pair of shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to buy the right shoes. But what's cool is that I remember I was even watching your videos before I did my first class because I was just like so curious, about like what am I getting myself into? And then obviously whenever you type in literally like what I think is cool about like WODprep and what you've put out there is that if you have a question about a movement, I almost guarantee you've made multiple videos on that, and in a way that's really easy to understand for people of all levels. And that's why I think it's so cool, like, having you on here, because I remember being that kid, it was like 2 years ago, but being that person that was just
that
sitting.
young lad. He was so innocent before he had facial hair.
Before I had my little patches of facial hair. But I remember, like, sitting in my room watching the videos and, like, hearing you explain things. And so it's just cool kind of how everything came full circle. So with that being said, like, if you could kind of explain what WODprep is, because we haven't really said exactly what it is and why you decided to start it and stuff like that, that'd be cool.
First of all, I'm all like, I have the feels hardcore right now, because that's so awesome that, like, I don't know, the whole purpose of me starting WODprep was for exactly what you just said. Like, the whole purpose was to have simple, easy to understand tips that anyone who wants to get into CrossFit or who's struggling in CrossFit or wants to learn how to do CrossFit moves, I wanted, like, very clearly and very simply explain to them how to do it. So, like, literally, that's exactly like you just said what WODprep is. Like, I like any movement, if you go search for it, especially on YouTube, like, I've tried to make a video for it, and it's like my whole modus operandi, whatever that means, my whole, like, theme, my whole mission is just to make things really simple. Like, a lot of people tend to overcomplicate programming. They tend to overcomplicate the skill development side of things. They just like to make it really, like, really complicated, but it actually is just really simple. And I think people tend to respond well to that simplicity. Like, you don't have to like program X at X percentage and then, like, carry the 2 with the square root, and, you know, like, you just don't have to do any of that. You literally
that's what I've been
just get in
doing.
the gym and be consistent. So that's ultimately what WODprep's all about, is teaching the individual skills that make people addicted to CrossFit. Like, I'm actually really curious, you guys, like, what was the skill that you first, like, clicked in your mind that made you, like, super excited to go try it again?
For me, it was 100% kipping pull-ups.
You mean Kipperling pull-ups?
Kippering.
Kippering pull-ups are the best.
Yeah, kippering pull-ups were the first thing, because
Those good old Kipperling.
it was the first gym we went to, and the workout had pull-ups. I was a month in or something like that, and they're like, all right, here's how you do it. You go to the top, you push away from the bar, you know, you allow that tension at the top, you do it again. And, like, I just couldn't figure out how to push away at the top because I only did strict pull-ups. Like, luckily I had strict pull-ups, and that's all I knew. And so pushing away at the top was, like, this weird concept to me. But, like, after, like, a few tries, I was doing them, and the coach was like, wow, like, you've got this, like, you're doing it. That's incredible. And then she, like, talked to another coach, and she was like, look, Jean's doing kippering pull-ups. And for me, it was like this
Flare out my chest a little bit.
Yeah, like, I'll be at the game sooner than I thought.
Regionals, here I come.
You know?
Kippering pull-ups, I got them.
But for me, that's what it was. It was literally being, like, people talking about how good my first, like, kipping pull-ups looked.
So basically, someone stroked your ego, and then you're just, like, latched onto that and never
Oh
let
my
go.
goodness. Yep, 100%.
Yeah, for me, it's nothing super crazy. One of the first workouts we did had box jumps in them. And for me, so I went from obviously being morbidly obese to doing bodybuilding, and none of that was ever, I was never a sportser with all that stuff, you know? And
It was very stationary.
it was very like static, you know, and obviously you want your form to be good. You're not doing those aren't movements that are for bodybuilding. So I wasn't ever doing stuff like that. And I remember it was 24-inch box jumps. And I was talking to John. I kind of, like, you know, didn't say it very loud, but I was like, I don't think I can do those. And he was like, you can do a 24-inch box jump. I was like, I don't know about that, because we didn't have any of the soft boxes. It was all hardwood that I was gonna scrape my shin on. So he was just like, you just do it. Just do one. And then I did one, and I was like, oh my gosh, and then
I wasn't very like, I was doing CrossFit for a week also. You know what I mean?
he was
So,
only doing it for like a month.
and so I
before
literally,
me.
I had no like scale, like jump on it for like step up first, no like
No, just
jump
jump.
on a 45-pound plate first. I didn't have any of that. I'm like, just do it. How hard can it be? Just jump on the box.
So I did my first box jump, and then in the workout, I think I did like 50 of them.
But that was like a huge.
That was a big deal for me. But then on top of that, something that's even more simple was actually running. Because for me, I never ran, obviously, when I was bigger. And then, again, same thing with bodybuilding. I didn't have to run, so there was no point. But I had never really ran. And I remember our first time that we went, so I wear compression clothing because of like my loose skin and stuff. It's just compression clothing it makes everything easier. But the first workout we did, I didn't have that yet. And so it was just awkward. We had double unders in it. I was doing singles, but it was just weird. Everything was moving around. So the next day I went to Dick's Sporting Goods, and I bought like compression gear. And I remember I bought that, and then I went back the next day and went on, because we used to do a 400-meter run was the warm-up. I can't explain how cool it was. It felt like I was like, this is unbelievable. Like, I've never felt comfortable running ever in my entire life. And so it was like little things like that. Like, and then eventually when I got to the Kippering pull-ups, that was good too. But like being capable, that was like the big thing for me, I think, was just being like, oh, I can like do these things. And for so long I felt like I couldn't. So that was kind of my like, oh my gosh. And then I would say like going to like actual movement, I think when I finally like got a muscle up, like that was huge, because it was a bar muscle up. I got my first ever bar muscle up in 17.2, like in the workout.
Nice.
Yeah, so like, that was a huge thing for me. And then
It took him about a year to get another one.
yeah, stupidly, I didn't practice them again, and then I tried them like a week later. I couldn't get them, and then I got frustrated. So for about 8 months, I couldn't do another bar muscle up. But then eventually, now I'm able to get them. And there's just like little.
We need to come back to that point. I have lots to say about the open syndrome, where you practice one thing, or you practice one movement once a year. I got it. Okay, next year.
Yeah.
It's like you just but it just goes to show you that if you actually put in the work, you can learn those things. You just have to be focused on one thing. Like in CrossFit, it's so easy to want to get better at everything, which is good, but then you never pick something to be like, okay, I'm going to work on this thing. I'm going to get better at this one thing right now. Obviously, I can still do my WODs or whatever, but I'm going to take time to work on this one thing. And then in your head, you're just like, there's so many things, and you never pick something.
Dude, that is like literally the essence of what we do, like on like the business side of WODprep. Like, we don't sell like programming that you just like follow like daily. We don't offer like a lot of things, but what we do offer is like, what movement do you need help with? Double unders. We have an 8-week double under training program that you just add into your workouts 3 times per week, 15 minutes per session. Focus, just do this. So you go and you do your normal WODs, you have fun, you do CrossFit, but all you're doing is just adding that like 1 or 2 degrees of change every day, or more realistically, like 3 days per week. And you do 3 sessions of 15 minutes per session, and you actually followed a structured progression like in our programming. And then, like magically 4 weeks later, you're doing double unders when you've been practicing them for 2 years and haven't been able to do them. It's all it takes is just a little bit of focus, like just focusing on like one skill at a time or one strength at a time. That's like, it's such a simple concept, but it's very hard to get people, especially CrossFitters, who get really excited about all the sportsy movements. They want to do everything. But that in itself is what makes CrossFit so fun, but it also is what prevents people from making like focused progress. Like if people are struggling, like they want to learn bar muscle ups and they want to learn ring muscle ups and they want to learn those Kippering pull-ups and chest to bar and stuff like that, but they don't even have the strength for it, they're just going to dabble in all those things and never actually like move the needle. But if they like focus just on, hey, over the next 8 weeks, I'm going to stick to strict pull-ups, and I'm going to learn my first or my second or third strict pull-up unbroken, and just focus on that strength, it's like a domino factor. Like, it's just that first domino, you knock it over, and then everything else gets knocked over.
That's super cool. So you started WODprep. Did you start as a YouTube channel? or did you start as like a business? Like,
I started as I literally just released a couple strategy videos
uh-huh.
about the open back in 2014 question mark teleprompter. I'm pretty sure it was either 2014 or 2015. Then I might have been 15. I don't know. One of those years. I'm not good with dates. But one of those years, I released just Facebook videos. I would record a video on this, on my phone about how to do the CrossFit Open. It was literally like how to do better at the open workout. And it was hilarious because like I didn't know how to edit videos or anything. So like if I didn't do a good job for the entire like I'd shoot it one take all the way through, and if I messed up at all in the middle,
Oh
I'd
no.
delete the entire
Oh
video
my
and start
gosh.
over.
No.
And like rewrite on the whiteboard.
Oh
And it was just
no.
like as editors now, like I've done a little bit of video editing. You guys are incredible at video editing. Now we know like, oh no, if you mess up, you just can cut it
Start
right
the
out. Or
sentence over,
people
yeah.
love seeing mess ups. They like seeing you say stupid stuff. But I didn't understand that, so that was a very frustrating start. But when I like started posting these videos, like, hey, here's how you do this workout. Here's how I'd strategize for this workout. I got a lot of people responding to my Facebook posts. They were like sharing it, and I was like, there might be something here. Maybe I could keep making some strategy videos and really help people out. And that's what started. And then like my wife was like, Ben, you need to get a job, and I was like, maybe I should maybe I should try to turn this into like more like a business that helps people. I think businesses can both be beneficial for the business owner, but also the people that they help. Like I don't want to. Again, I'm not about extraction. I want to give value. Like I want people to come to WODprep and receive more value than they give back in payment. Um, like that's what everything is like founded on. It's just value, value, value. So that's why I have just free content everywhere. Like the open strategy guides and all the individual movement stuff on YouTube. But it all started with those few horrendous Facebook videos. And then at some points, one of my buddies was like, dude, you should like start a YouTube channel. I'm like, nah. And then I waited another year, and then I finally started one. So it was good to get on there.
What made you? Why are you appealed? Like, what am I trying to say? How am I trying to say
I
this?
can't read your mind.
Yeah. Why do you kind of go towards the scaled athlete and try to get them versus the competitive athlete? Like, because that's kind of where you're going. You're getting people who are scaled and trying to teach them skills, which isn't nearly as sexy as competitive, other programs out there where you can have these like games athletes promote your programming. What was the reasoning? Like, why did you go that route?
Yes, this was so I used to compete. I did a ton of competing, regionals a couple years, and it was an unhealthy obsession with working out, in my opinion. Like it's like there's so much pressure on you to perform, and there's so much grinding involved that for me personally, I know some people love all of it, but for me personally, like I'd go compete, and if I didn't win the competition, it was like a total disaster. It's like I like sportsing, but and I am very
We
competitive,
all love
but like the
sportsing.
amount of pressure that was on me, I kind of it caused me to withdraw a little bit once I moved to Florida. I was just like, guys, like I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna go fishing. I haven't been fishing in a while, and I love fishing. I actually like total digression. I used to that was gonna be my profession was like professional bass fishing.
Oh wow.
That's a whole nother topic of discussion. But I wanted to like go pro fishing. I was on the North Carolina State fishing team. We actually like won the national championship and everything. Like all sights were set on that. And then I realized that like fitness, if I could teach fitness, I'm going to change a lot more lives. And like the world is going to be a better place if fitness is spread. If bass fishing is spread, like, yeah, some people are going to have better, father-daughter, father-son relationships. But
Yeah.
like, I think fitness is really how we're changing a lot of people's lives. So, like, I know I'm kind of getting a little off topic, but like, it all comes down to like I think the people who need CrossFit the most are not the people who are like trying to be these elite professional worker outers, right? Who are just trying to be like the
Worker
most
outers.
shredded, can lift hundreds of pounds. Like CrossFit at its essence, and even Greg Glassman like talks about this, and he's like promoting it a little bit more even now. It's like it helps people get off the couch, man, and it helps people like fall back in love with fitness. Like when have fitness was a chore for me before, like back in early in college and in high school, fitness was a chore. Like I work out so that I can be fit or so that I can look better, and not, be chubby or something like that. But like once I found CrossFit, fitness was like, oh my gosh, this is fun. I'm enjoying this. I'm looking forward to going and like trying that skill. So what I figured out was like the bridge in between someone not knowing how to work out and not having any fun with working out. The bridge between that and someone who's like in love with CrossFit and wants to get up early in the morning and go pound it in the gym, right? That bridge are these skills. Right. When people get that aha moment, like I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone sends us a video of their first bar muscle up or first ring muscle up or first set of double unders, and they will literally send it and say, Ben, I watched your video. I never thought I'd be able to do this. Thank you so much. And like send me this video and it's them like sobbing,
Oh
like
my gosh.
because they're so excited, like sobbing with happiness because they're so excited that they got that skill that they were after. They never thought they'd be able to do a bar muscle up. And then all of a sudden now they're knocking out bar muscle ups. And it's like, as soon as you get someone that aha moment, that like that where that one thing clicks, it's like I think I've helped facilitate someone falling in love with CrossFit, which means falling in love with fitness, which means their entire life is going to improve, and then hopefully they're going to inspire others to do the same. So it's like that's a very long-winded answer. I think helping beginners fall in love with CrossFit that's going to change the world, and that's going to make the world a healthier, happier place.
So I totally agree. I got a story that doesn't seem like it relates, but it does.
I don't believe you.
I recently was in Las Vegas just like 2 days ago, and I went by myself, and I went with this online company I work for, and they didn't know I've never been in Vegas before. I didn't let them know I've never been in Vegas before. I was only there for one day. It wasn't something crazy, but I stayed in a hotel, and the next day I wake up, and I need to be somewhere at like 8:30 a.m., but I wake up at like 6 a.m. So I'm just like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to go find a Starbucks, read, relax, and then I'll go there. And so I like wake up, and I like will start walking thinking there'll be a Starbucks somewhere. This is Las Vegas. There has to be. An hour later, I'm still walking, and I like couldn't find a Starbucks, and I was like so frustrated. So I just ended up going to AM/PM, picking up like a Monster energy drink, and then ordering a Lyft to go to where I needed to go. Because like all the Starbuckses were inside hotels, and I didn't know that. Like I didn't know that. And so
everything is inside hotels in Vegas.
Yeah, I didn't go, and I didn't have like a guide. I didn't have someone helping me. And I was just thinking like, if only someone who's been to Vegas was with me that morning, they could have been like, oh, I know where the Starbucks is. Let's go here, and then we can take a Lyft or whatever, or an Uber. And so it's kind of the same thing. It's like I didn't have a good morning. I was kind of frustrated that I was walking around for an hour without any luck, And so the same thing with like CrossFit, with fitness, like someone who shows up, and if they don't have anyone teaching them skills, they don't have anyone teaching them how to do the movements, like that's going to be frustrating. If you keep on showing up and you have double unders and it's and you still don't have double unders, and honestly, coming from formerly working at a jump rope company, and then you have your like jump rope clinic, like, or your jump rope course, like it is so, coaches don't know how to teach double unders. They have no clue. And so then like you have this like skill that no one is really teaching you how to do, and every time it shows up, you don't get to do RX on the workout. Like, it can be frustrating, and you just kind of think, if only there was someone there to, like, show me how to do this. And so that's kind of what it sounds like. You want to be that, like, guide, as corny as that sounds.
Yeah.
But, like, that's what you're looking is to make it more fun, they should know the skills.
Absolutely. I mean, it's way more fun when you can, like, I don't want people ever to be obsessed with like RXing a workout. That can kind of be an unhealthy obsession, especially if like you're just not strong enough for it. But like, there's no better feeling than being able, even if you can't do the whole workout RX, if you can pick up the jump rope and knock out double unders, like you're gonna feel a lot better, just naturally. Like it's a skill that you've learned and you've taught yourself. And if I can help in any way, like personally, it's funny you said, coaches don't know how to teach double unders, and that's like one of my biggest pet peeves. Like I drop into affiliates all the time. And whenever someone's just like, all right, guys, today we have double unders. If you can't do double unders, do single unders. All right. And they move on to the next move. And it's just like, no, like, let's spend some time working through the progression. Like, I have a progression that I teach that, like, it works like 90% of the time with people who have 0 double unders. I can get them to 1, and then we build on that. But you can't just be like, it's not like 0 double unders or unders RX in a workout. There's a progression that you need to work people through, and it super duper frustrates me, the lack of progression skill coaching that happens in CrossFit gyms. Now, I don't want to, like, there's no blame there. It's just the fact of the matter is, like, as a CrossFit coach, when I owned my affiliate, like, my goal was to get people a good workout and make sure they're having fun and, like, make sure I'm on time for the next class. I'm not able to be like, hey, John, what is the skill you want to work on? And let's draw out a progression, and I'm going to write auxiliary programming for you to do. Like 99.9% of the affiliates and coaches out there don't do that. And that's when I started WODprep. I wanted to kind of fill that void and give people like you who want that guide to the Starbucks, who want someone to lead them there. I kind of come in and I help them say, hey, I remember when I didn't know how to do this movement, or I remember when Sally didn't know how to do it and I taught her, here's what worked, and you can try it. So yeah, good analogy, bro.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
I think it's so incredibly powerful, like what you said about helping people like get off the couch and like fall in love with fitness in the gym, because I've realized that one, I never want to force somebody to do something that they don't want to do. So when it comes to working out, like if you don't genuinely enjoy it, what I say is like don't force yourself to do it. Because there's tons of ways to work out. There are so many ways to work out. You don't need to do something you don't enjoy. I can almost guarantee you can find something that you enjoy, right? And what I've come to realize is that most people, when it comes to the gym, the reason that a lot of people either don't go or don't feel comfortable there is because they don't want to look stupid. Like that's honestly one of the biggest things is people, they talk about gym intimidation, and that, I go to the gym, but I don't know what to do. And like, if you have, like you do the courses, if you have a structured plan, because like even in CrossFit, right? Like when you go to a bodybuilding gym, I get why it's kind of like there's so many machines, there's so many things to do, you don't know what to do. But when it comes to CrossFit, a lot of people, they don't go to the gym a little bit earlier maybe because they don't know what they should be working on or what to do. And so like that's why I think it's cool with your programs and stuff. It's like 15 minutes. They know exactly what they're going to be doing for those 15 minutes, so they can go to the gym a little bit earlier and work on those things. Because if you feel, it's just so powerful to feel comfortable in the gym, because that will force you, you'll just feel more comfortable, so then you will actually do a little bit more, and then you can start that process of you falling in love with the gym and then it changing your life. Like that's how it starts. It's kind of like a domino effect, and it all starts with you feeling comfortable there.
Yep. I mean, that's it. You nailed it. We just solved all the world's problems.
This is the best podcast ever.
Okay, so I am curious. I got, I think we're pretty much wrapping it up here, but I got two questions before we wrap it up. The first one is, what do you think, and maybe we already covered it, are the biggest mistakes like newbies make when they start CrossFit? Like, what would you say? Like, you're starting CrossFit, don't do this.
Not the smoothie. We already talked about that.
Don't eat a really big fruit smoothie minutes prior to hitting a workout. That's it.
All right. Great. Thanks for having been on the
Bye, everyone. Bye. No, man, it's a really good question. There's kind of like two different tracks here. The first track is the person who gets started with CrossFit and then just like gobbles it up, right? Like just like consumes everything. for that particular person, the person who just like drinks the Kool-Aid, so to speak, right away. I actually have a video about this. And a couple of things I cover. Don't be a gear addict. It's really fun to buy CrossFit gear. Believe me. Hey, I admit it.
Yeah.
But it's not going to make you improve, right? Having the gear is not what separates you from Matt Frazier, unfortunately, right? It's not the gear.
I don't know.
Number two is kind of the shiny object syndrome. A lot of people, they start CrossFit. They might go to their CrossFit gym, follow the programming a little bit, and then 6 months in, they're just like, all right, it's time for me to start a competitor's programming. I'm ready for regionals. Regionals next year. Here we go. And it's just like the jump there is too quick, and it's too frequent. A lot of people will hop from program to program to program. They'll be like comp train and then Invictus and then some other thing that I don't know about, and they're just hopping around, right? And it's very easy to get shiny object syndrome when you're drinking that initial Kool-Aid, right? Just stay focused, trust your gym's programming, and if you know their programming isn't necessarily on point, then follow a program, but stick with it. Don't be the guy that hops from program to program to program. And then the third tip for that track of person, the addictive one, is to, again, stay focused. Like, identify what your biggest domino is. So like, what's the one thing that you can do that's going to affect the most things? So for a lot of people, it's like raw strength is a really big one, unless you're just naturally a bigger, stronger person, in which case it's going to be like more agility, like gymnastic based. But like, so many people want to do these high level movements when really their number one thing they should be working on is increasing their strict pull-ups. Like, by far, that's like the most fundamental baseline aspect, is like increase your strict pull up, increase your squat. Those are the two ones. So that's like for the people who are like super addicted to CrossFit. For the people who are like just starting and they're like tentative, right? And they're like, I'm kind of like dipping their toes in the water. Like, I'm not totally sold out on this. Try multiple gyms. If you're like trying to get into a CrossFit gym, don't just pick one and then like write it off. Be like, they were mean, they were egotistical, it was too competitive, I didn't like it, I don't like CrossFit. Like, if you come to me as a former affiliate owner and you said, hey, I'm looking at a bunch of gyms in the area, I'm trying to see which one's a good fit for me. Do you have any sort of like free week trial, or do you have like a free class drop in? What do you recommend that I do? And I'm going to say, oh my gosh, yeah, come to our Saturday class. It'll be free for you. And it's a team workout we're going to make sure we scale it to, your level, right? Like, test the waters. Don't just go into one and say, nope, not for me.
Yeah.
Try several, because chances are, especially if you live in a major city, there's several CrossFit gyms. You might go to 3 and you hate them, you don't like them, they're not fun. And then you go to the 4th and you're like, oh my gosh, this is my extended family.
Yeah.
Because to me, that community aspect is so big. So that was a very long answer. I apologize. But
No,
those
it's
are like
good.
the two kinds of people that I see that are beginners in CrossFit.
Very cool. Very cool. Anything you want to add into that?
No, I mean, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I 100%. I think, like, I don't know, for me, I would say people just, the other thing is, like, people get so excited. You kind of already talked about it, but people get so excited to try and RX things that they end up, like, they're not even enjoying, they, like, end up not even enjoying the workout anymore, because they're so focused on RXing the workout and doing it how it's written that they're not getting what they should be getting out of it, and 2, they're leaving feeling discouraged when they should be leaving feeling uplifted and being like, wow, I accomplished something. But instead they're leaving thinking, oh my gosh, like, another bad day at the gym.
Mm-hmm.
I'm such a failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like,
celebrate your wins. Celebrate have fun with it.
Yeah.
Celebrate the fact that you're like getting off your butt and going to the gym. Even if you don't crush it in the gym, like, take a big deep breath and be like, wow, I'm so thankful I get to do this, and I'm being a healthier person. So
Yeah. So the reason why we wanted, first of all, thank you for being on the podcast. I think it was super awesome. I really enjoyed talking with you. The reason why we wanted to have you on like right away, besides the fact that you're a great person and are a fellow sportser,
and are incredibly good looking,
and a fellow fan of Kippering.
Yes. But so like my brother brought up, you were so huge. Your channel, like, was so huge. Like, I showed you my YouTube video where I literally show your video of Fran the first time I did Fran. I was like watching you, like, Ben, help me please, because I'm going to die
And
today.
we did. That was bad.
That
Our
was,
first
both
friend
of our
was
hands
so
were just
bad.
bloody. And,
So bad.
But you were such a huge help to us when we first started CrossFit, and still,
Yeah.
still, if we're looking up a thing, one of your videos are going to show up. And so we're super excited about the new program that you just launched. So you have kind of like almost like 2 levels, right? So you have your free stuff that you offer on YouTube for everyone, always free. And then for the people who are like interested in just dominating that skill, you have specific like courses on specific skills, right?
Yep, that's it. Basically, I have, like you said, that free level, and this is always going to exist. This is what WODprep was built on. It's just providing the best possible free content I can. So I have videos out there about basically all the movements and all the skills and all the sports. But there's for those who are like really ready to focus and say, hey, I've identified that double unders is the thing I need to work on, or I've identified that bar muscle ups, if I can get that, it's going to take me to the next level. Or the new program we launched is pull-ups, because I think it's the most foundational movement in all of CrossFit. Is if you can do a strict pull-up, that's going to show me that you have the strength to do like kipping pull-ups and kipping toes to bar, and eventually bar muscle ups and ring muscle ups and all kinds of things. So we've developed an 8-week step-by-step training program that follows the exact kind of model we were talking about. Basically, you join strict pull-up strength, and all you have to do is just like log into the app, click, week 1, day 1, and we tell you exactly what to do. And then after 15 minutes of doing that stuff, you just go do your normal workout. Right. And that's it. And we just give you that programming for 3 days a week. And just like everyone loves, like on my YouTube channel, I'm there like teaching you throughout the entire process. So it's not just like a written PDF. Like a lot of programs are just like, here's your spreadsheet, do these many reps, this sets. It's like, no, this is a very video interactive thing. We have like a private Facebook group that's associated with it where you can work with like my team of coaches. So yeah, basically we're releasing strict pull-up strength, and I'm super pumped about it. And another weird thing that we do that a lot of fitness programs won't do is we have like a 100% results guarantee. Like there's not even a time limit on it. It's like basically if you try our courses and they don't give you the results you're looking for, if you weren't like blown away with the value that you got out of it, you literally just email me personally, and then I give you like every single penny back. It's like especially with like the online fitness thing, there's so much like just sleaziness and sliminess. It's like, no, we are like the most transparent. Just like my goal is to help you improve, and if you take our course and you don't improve, like, hey, it didn't work for you, that's fine. But luckily, 99.9% of people are just like, oh my gosh, this was huge for me. This helped transform to bar muscle ups. So we had a guy who beta tested this program early. It was like almost 1 year ago. He started with 0 pull-ups, ended with 2 strict pull-ups, and went back through it again. Could do 7 strict pull-ups, and now can do bar muscle ups. And it just all came from that like 1 degree of change of like, I'm gonna stay focused on developing this strength.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what we got.
So the best way. So that strict pull-up just launched.
Launched. It just launched on Monday.
Which is today for us filming, yesterday for you, and yesterday for the people who are watching this the day this goes out.
But it just got released.
It just got released, and it's closing soon, right?
Yes. So this is something that also confuses some people. It's like we actually close the doors to our courses, and that's so that we can give the people who join an incredible coaching experience. If we just had people just like joining every week and trickling in, there wouldn't be much community vibe going on. Our coaches would be spread too thin. So basically, Friday night at 11:59, because if you say midnight, everyone's like, what does that mean? Friday night at 11:59 Eastern Standard Time,
Okay.
is when like technically we're like closing it. So the doors will close, the cart will close, and everything. So I know it's a small window, and admittedly, like guys, it's expensive, and I know it's expensive, but that's just because we just pour our heart and souls into it. I have a whole team of coaches, and the bottom line is, and you guys might agree with this, is like sometimes it takes going all in. Like sometimes it
Oh,
takes
yeah.
like putting down like skin in the game, so to speak. If this was like a $3 program, 97% of the people who bought it would buy it, and it'd be like, okay, I'm not doing that. As soon as it gets hard, they would just have no buy-in.
Uh-huh.
So it's expensive. We do guarantee that it works, and we show you WODprep love when you're on the inside.
That's awesome. And so we partnered together on this during this like launch. And so if they go to www.wodprep.com/W4C, the number 4, or WFC.
Even better. So if you go to just wodprep.com/work4change, and the 4 is a number, not a letter. So
Okay.
wodprep.com/work4change. That'll take you to basically the page where you can see all the testimonials and see me standing in front of a camera telling you about the program. I give you like a sneak peek on what it looks like on the inside. And yeah, man, it's available now until Friday night. And yeah, basically, and this is totally up to you guys. So I don't want to surprise you with this, but I'm totally down if you guys are down. Anyone who joins the course by going to that link, maybe at some point between now and maybe New Year's, we could hop on like a group call, me, you, and then anyone who joins through that link. We can hop on a group call and like have a goal setting call. Like, how are we going to set goals for 2019? I know I totally just surprised you guys. I literally thought of this like 2 minutes before we started the call.
Yeah.
Are you guys interested in doing something like that?
I'm busy, actually.
No, actually, what's today? Yeah, definitely can't do that. No, I think that could be really,
Absolutely.
really cool. Yeah,
Not even a question.
Yeah,
We'd make it
100%.
happen. Yeah.
I like that a lot.
All right, so we'll have to figure out all the details because I literally just came up with this 2 minutes before the call. I apologize, guys. But if you get it through that link, or just go to wodprep.com/work, the number 4, change. That'll take you to the right page. And if you join the course between now and New Year's or something like that, all 3 of us will host like a private live group call where we can have everyone who joins on a call and just help you set goals. Like that's we didn't really talk about that too much, but like setting goals is such a huge part of like making the right change in your fitness, whether you're already a CrossFitter or someone who's looking to get into it. Like I have a thing about setting goals the right way and not the wrong way. And that's something that we can really like dig into and obviously give as much value as possible.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Well, Ben, thank you so much. Honestly, we'll love to have you again sometime. We can, get deeper into training and goals and all that stuff.
I was hoping we could talk more about the fishing.
Yeah, the next podcast you're on is 100% going to be about bass fishing.
Yep.
Bass fishing, and I actually used to be a shark fishing guide. We worked for NOAA, and we would we'd catch, tag, measure, release sharks. I have tons of stories behind that. We'll use that as a teaser for the next episode.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Sharkies, and hopefully in April I will be moving. There's word on the street I'll be moving to the West Coast. So,
woo,
that'd be awesome.
That'd be so cool.
That'd be good.
Hit like if you want to see some in-person Ben, Jean, and John workouts where Ben crushes us.
You guys are getting strong, man. So strong. And I'm, very much just like, I work out for fun 3 days a week, 4 days a week. And you guys are like crushing it. So I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
Times.
Cool.
Cool. Well, Ben, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you next time.
All right, everyone. Peace, brother.
Peace.
Thank you guys so much for watching the second episode of the Work for Change podcast. And I say watching because at this point, it is still only on YouTube, but we are working very, very, very hard to get it on iTunes, to get it on Google Play, and
literally
to get it
everywhere
on
else,
Spotify.
Stitcher, all of the other apps.
But we do have a link to download it on your phone. So if you do not want to use the app, but you want to download it as like a music file, we have that. You can do that. I already saw that some people did that with the other podcasts. So that is an option that maybe some of you guys didn't know about it. It's in the description on YouTube, and then I'll make sure I put it wherever this is. Again, thank you so much to Ben for being our first guest. Our fingers were crossed that this would work.
Mm-hmm.
And we told him that this might not actually end up recording, and we might have to do a whole second thing.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Ben, for being such a great first guest. If you want to find out more, again, WODprep.com/
WORK 4 CHANGE. Work for change. And that's how you can find out about the pull-up guide. And again, that's going to help the channel. It's going to help the podcast out. So if you do that, we really
full
appreciate
disclaimer,
Yeah.
we get a portion of that.
Yeah.
So it helps the podcast. So even if you don't want to learn pull-ups,
But you want to help
which
the
I
podcast
recommend,
out.
but you want to help the podcast, it literally, a good portion will go and help the podcast. So full disclaimer. But anyway, like I said, we've been listening and watching WODprep since the very beginning. Enough rambling there. If you've made it this far, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, make sure you rate 5 stars, make sure that you do all the things.
All the good things.
And,
Yeah, let us know. Again, any people you guys want to see on the podcast. Obviously, we are super interested with getting awesome people on the podcast. So
and we've already got like an incredible lineup.
yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, so be excited. And again, thank you guys. And we'll see you next time. Peace.